Good evening, everybody, and I hope you really enjoy this evening. And I thank you all for coming in such numbers, and I hope that you find this a very interesting night. As I open a window on the past, and through that window I will talk about Leitrim women living through time. And the subject of that will be my own mother, who is very typical of all the women who lived in Ireland at that time. She was a farmer's wife, and that is most of the wives that were in Leitrim in her time. They were farmers' wives. When I have talked about my mother, I will shine a light on bone setting, and I will tell you about my memories of my mother bone setting in our kitchen at home. Now, many of you, or some of you, may never have heard of bone setting. Because up until the 1960s, and by the 1960s it was on the way out. However, up until then, the bone setter played a very vital role in the community, setting people's breaks and injuries by physical manipulation. She also at times did poultice and massaging. I have to look a bit now. But the role of the bone setter is fast giving way to the osteopath, or the, what do you call them, the chiropractor, or the orthopedic surgeon. My mother was, I suppose, a remarkable woman. She was a wife, a mother of 6, a housewife, a farmer's wife, a farmer, which I'll explain later on, a seamstress, a cobbler. Do everybody know what a cobbler was? The fixed shoes, someone said down there. She was a cobbler and a bone setter. She was an 8-in-1, so she was. And so I will go on now and talk about her life. Should you read the weekly, many of you get the Farming Independent of a Tuesday. I loved reading it. I came from land, of course. And read the Farming Independent on the Tuesday, or read the Farmer's Journal. You will notice that there's a lot of young girls and young women going into full-time farming. And my mother was a young farmer. She was the eldest of the Teague family, that's her family. And her father, he was a very noted bone setter. And he was away nearly every day, someplace bone setting. And she had to do all the farming for the simple reason that her younger brother, Francie, immigrated to the USA, and her other brother, John, went off to be a missionary priest. So my mother was a farmer, but remember then at that time, there was no machinery then. So she could and did dig with a lie as good as any man. I'm not exaggerating on that. And she could handle all tools. Now, if there were prizes for young farmer at that time, like there are Young Farmer of the Year, I am very sure that my mother, God rest her, would have got a prize for Young Farmer of the Year. She married my father, Andrew Redican, Fina, in 1931, And I believe it was after courtship. I don't think it was an arranged marriage like that. And she moved into his house, just like it was typical of young women at that time, marrying farmers. They moved into the farmhouse that the husband had. Now, living there in that house was my father's mother and father, his brother and sister, and those two. It was a small two-bedroom detached house. There was no running water, there were no toilets, there was no electricity. So start using your imagination how it was like for a young bride and a young woman to live in a house with so many people like that. Many of you heard of the song Going to a Wedding. Have you? Yeah. Well, we'll sing a bit of it, will we? I have often heard it said by me father and me mother that going to a wedding was the makings of another. That's as far as I'm going. Because it tells the tale that years ago, when one marriage occurred in an area, there was a whole go of marriages, one after another around the place, because the fortune, they called it then, not the dowry, but it was called a fortune. That fortune, when the person got married, if there was a girl in the house, and that the bride behind a fortune, more than likely that girl would often married very shortly afterwards and brought the fortune with her. Well, I don't know what exactly that's what happened at home, but I know that my Aunt Katie married very shortly after my mother got married. So there you are, one less in the household. We had a small farm, and we grew and we reared our income. Grew and reared it. We had 5 or 6 milking cows. We had 2 sows, and they had 4 litters of bottoms every year. We used to fatten pigs, and one of them we used to kill every year. And we had about 4 dozen hens, I think, and probably about 40 turkeys. So there it was. My mother, she milked. She fed the calves, the sows, the pigs, the turkeys and the hens. And she produced and reared her own young chickens and her young turkeys. That was very common at that time, so it was. And of course she had to do the cooking and the knitting and the sewing and the washing. Many of you here might be familiar with the women that bred and reared their own chickens and their own turkeys. Would there be many of you? I suppose quite a few of you might be, because I know you're a lot younger than I am, but anyway, it was put on well on to my years as well. And I don't know, do you ever hear of a clucking hen or a clucker? Well, the clucker could be a very valuable hen, and so could be the sturdy rooster. And what the neighbours and friends used to do then, they used to swap eggs, swap hens, swap roosters and swap cluckers, so that they would produce and rear their own ones. And of course, they secretly brought the turkey to the turkey cock. There was no talk of Amendment 8 at that time. I'm going to tell you a true story. They're all true stories I have been telling you anyway, so they were. Anyway, this is a story I want to share with you. And of course, it's great to sit down. My Aunt Annie, that was my mother's sister, lived in the home place in Havas. And when she was having a baby, my mother always went up there to be of help to her and, of course, of help to the young baby. Well, this time she was heading off as the young baby was on the way. So she made it extra special. She was bringing a rooster to Aunt Annie so that it would prove their quality of their hens and chickens. So she put the rooster in a bag, hung it at the handlebars, got up on her bicycle and headed for Ahvas. Passing Foxfield Church, she decided she'd go to confessions. So she left the bicycle and the bag up against the wall and went in to confessions. And I suppose she came out very satisfied with herself. However, when she came out, the bag and the rooster were gone. She looked all over the place in distress, but anyway, she had to go without the rooster, and she went up. And she stayed up there for a week, helping out, and the baby came and all that. 2 weeks later, she was coming out of the church, and the parish priest came over to her and said, "Thank you, ma'am, for that very generous gift. We had a delicious dinner the next day." That's a true story. Everything I'm telling you is true, of course. You mightn't believe me, but anyway. Yeah. Could do with a drink.
Who was that priest?
Pardon?
Who was the priest? Who was the priest? Oh, you have fun. Oh, that's not still, is it?
Anyway,
Who was the priest?
God helps those in need. So he does. Now, as I said, we had a small farm. My father didn't get dole. So all our income really came from the land. And that was potatoes and oats and things. They were fed cattle, poultry. And we, of course, we had our dinner every day as well. And be honest with you, Mother always said, "Want not, waste not." So if there was extra potatoes after the dinner, it was turned into boxty or potato bread. Anyway, we got our fuel from the bog, and we needed a lot of fuel. We needed a lot of turf, because every day, practically every day, we put on a 4-bucket pot on an open fireplace. My mother washed them, of course, and put them on. And you know, our neighbours, they were all astounded at the way, God bless my mother, the way she could whip that pot, that 4-bucket pot, off the fire and put it on the floor. So we got potatoes for dinner, and Mother's boxty came in very well. Now, I forgot to tell you, my mother also put in a big garden every year. A massive vegetable garden every year. And it was tough if you got brought with her in the evening when she was doing that, because she didn't know when to come home. Anyway, she did all the digging with Aloy. And she also had plenty of flowers garden around the house. She loved flowers. And very often she was seen on her bicycle with at least 100 weight of rhubarb sticks on the carrier on her way to Drumshambo to Laird's Stamp Factory. She was brilliant with the needle and scissors, and she made my first communion outfit. Blue serge. I still can see it. My, was I proud. She knitted and darned and patched, so she did. And in my younger years, there was little remarks on any fella going around with a big patch on his backside, or his 2 elbows hid with darning where they had been looked up before that. She did all that type of thing. And we were delighted to have a pair of football togs she made, even though they had the emblem on them, Heart's Delight. I think you know where that came from. And she used to convert the flower bags into sheets. So, many's the time, Mother sat down with a last in front of her. You know what a last was like? And she put on a half sole or heels on shoes. As a matter of fact, she got cut through it at one time and got blood poison. But anyway, that's a long time ago. And yet, with all that work, she found time to go to the ICA in Kishcarrigan, which was 3 miles away, and she cycled to it. And you know what she did? She won a competition for her hat. She said, as she used to say, waste not, want not. She saw a big brown paper bag. So she looked at it, and as she looked at it, she looked out the window, and she saw that some of last year's cabbage had flowered, and there was yellow flowers all over on it. So what did she do? She adorned her bag with the flowers. She put it on her head, got up on the bicycle, and headed for Kishcarrigan. Going round the lake, and the lake and the road are very close to each other. The Ranny Lake was very close to the road. And when there was a man taking out a bucket of water, and he turned round to look at her, and he got such a fright, he fell forward and he got drenched. Anyway, she won the prize for the most original and the funniest hat going. Even a bad accident in 1949, it didn't dampen her lively spirit and her personality. To be more about that accident when I'm doing the bone setting. So now, you have an idea of the mother that we had, because down here in front of me, all the way from Kildare, is my sister Maureen and her daughters, and there's a lot of the family here. So we were we're all very proud of Mother. So that's Mother as what she was. A mother living a life through a Leitrim woman through time. Typical of so many women at that time when they moved into a farmhouse and they had to work. And you know, they all had nearly pigs and poultry and everything like that. So that's my story on that. Now, I'm going to move on to the bone setting. And I'm going to try and demonstrate. Now, I thought for a minute, you know what I'll do? I'll put on a wig on me and put on an apron or something, and so they'll all think I'm Mother. So you have to imagine, I'm going to imagine that I am my mother, God rest her. I'm not, but you'll have to just imagine it. So, anyway, I have young people who will be prepared to help me out, and I'm going to do a couple of demonstrations. But before I do that, I have a little talk to give you. You want to know, maybe, how did my mother become a bone setter? And Mary Alice Redican inherited the bone setting gift through family lineage. Now, I was doing some research, and in 2012, 2 noted bone setters, Victor Lane and Dan O'Neill, when they were interviewed, they claimed that the gift is inherited through family lineage. They transition through female line. My mother, Mary Alice Redican's great-grandfather, was a bone setter, Michael Donoghue. His daughter, my mother's grandmother, was a bone setter. Her father, James Teague, was a very renowned bone setter. And then my mother. So you see the lineage. Great-grandfather, grandmother, father, and daughter. And none of our family followed Mother into the bone setting. However, when in 1949 my mother was in a car crash, riding a bicycle. She had several breaks in her, she had her leg and her arm. And my oldest brother, God rest him, Prunches, he did the bone setting under her guidance and along with Dr. Dolan, who was there as well. She recovered very well, and she lived and bone setted for the following 30 years. So she did a lot of good after that. Prunches was 16 then, and I firmly believe had Prunches stayed on in Ireland, I think he would have gone into the bone setting. As it was, he was in England, and several times at football matches, he was with the Tara Football Club, did he pull a finger or a thumb? So he did. Now, as I explained, my mother lived at home, and she did all the farming from she was mid-teens until she was 26 when she married my father. And also what she was doing at that time as well, she was assisting my grandfather at the bone setting. And she learned all the skills. So there it is. She had inherited the gift. She learned the skills from her father. After my mother married my dad in 1931, people started coming to her, and especially on Sunday afternoons where football matches were involved, and she started doing bone setting in Fina. So she did, and she did all the bone setting in the kitchen. However, for a hip injury, she did that in the house of the injured person. Because when a hip was replaced or set, the person had to lie in bed for 5 weeks on their back and not get out of the bed. So that's why she went there. But anyway, she used to cycle, and she cycled many places over to places like, I know one time she went as far as Giva on a bicycle. She cycled a bicycle, and she could be coming at night or not. So that's what I'm going to tell you about my mother. She was fearless, and she cycled all over the place bone setting. But I want to tell you, and I'm proud to tell you, that before I go to demonstrate, my mother's sister Annie, she lived in the home place where my mother was born, and she lived with her father and mother till they passed on. And she acquired the skills of bone setting. And she was an excellent bone setter. And her son George, he was carrying on the tradition about that. But unfortunately, he got a bad back injury, so it curtailed it, and he didn't do it anymore. Last but not least, I forgot to tell you, my mother bone setted smaller animals. She did. And I saw them coming with a horse-drawn cart and a calf in it, and she did bone setting. And only last year, a man came to me, a priest, and he said, "Your mother was a phenomenal woman. Out of all the people she set right with her bone setting. She did a right good job with my sister when she was born. She was born with dislocated limbs. She put them all back, and she is flying around, and she is well into the 80s. Unfortunately, God rest her, that lady died 2 weeks ago. I was at her funeral. She was 87. She was matron in the Richmond Hospital, and when it closed, she went on to Beaumont. Okay, God rest her. Now, where is my men? Now, I tell you the honest truth, I haven't a stick to beat anyone. So I haven't. Okay. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, you're welcome first. Hey, how was you? You injured yourself?
I'm in trouble, Mrs. Redican.
Oh, What's wrong with you?
I fell and I hurt that arm, and I thought it would get better itself, but it's worse it's getting.
Well, sit down here. No, sit here. Sit there. That's the way. Easy now. And is that long ago?
Oh, it's about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's a good while now. I might have to think of a poultice, but we'll see. We'll take off your jacket. I'll help you. Easy now. Okay. Are you all right? Okay. I'll put it back here. Okay. Sorry. Oh, I know we'll lean forward a bit there. Now, tell me this. Oh, let's see. Where's the pain worse?
It's just there.
Yeah, I can see.
Just there. Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. It'll have to be cruel to be kind. Could you let loose a bit? Okay. Yeah. Bad news for you. I'm afraid you have a break there.
Oh, no.
Now, who have you at home?
Oh, I'm afraid I have no one at home. I never got around to marrying.
I've an awful pity. Because I tell you, if I fix this arm, you cannot do a bit of work outside for at least 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
5 weeks?
Surely I'd be able to pull a lock of hay with that arm to fodder the cattle.
No work outside. That's pulling your hay, you'd be shaking yourself. No work.
Oh, I suppose I could get Billy Brown maybe to do the work.
Are you sure now?
I am sure. I want that arm fixed. But will it be very painful?
Well, it won't knock a funk out of you.
Asher, give me whiskey.
What? No whiskey. Alcohol is bad for breaks. No whiskey. Now, put it over there, and I have a few things to do. I'll be telling you as I go along. Mother used to make a patch, a plaster with pitch, burgundy pitch, and she had all the time on hand our black ponger. Now, some people didn't know what a ponger was today. We were talking. But the travelling people used to make this ponger. You remember them? They were a sort of a big mug. No, God bless them, they were good for stir about in the morning when I was small. Anyway, my mother used to put the burgundy pitch, black pitch and burgundy. Burgundy was a sort of off-white, so it was, and they were hard lumps. She put them into this, and she took them over, and with the tongue she took out 2 fresh coals, and she put them on that. So there they are. That's been heated up, so it is. Now, I don't know, she had, I think it was calico. Now, this was the type of cloth, maybe a lot stronger, that she used to put the pitch on. So, Kieran, excuse me a moment. Let's see now. That's a bit big, but that's not, No, I'll be taking it back, don't worry, because I have to put pitch on it. Okay. Now, when she put the pictures on that, it's still cooked up there, she used splints, cardboard splints. Now, I'm like the fellow do on the television with making the cakes and things like that. He said, I've already one in the oven. But anyway, 2 splints like that she would use. That would be done. And, sorry, excuse me. So, when she had the splints, she used to come along, and this was the next routine. You might think this is tough going for the patient, but it can be tough going for other people as well. So, I could do with help now. You go off and that there, okay, put that tight there. I think my husband and Tommy McGovern is coming. I don't know what happened, but anyway, what happened is I don't think that my grandchild got the message. Okay, you're daddy, God rest him. Okay. And there, you were there. Now, I'm going to go over for, where's me? Did you hide it? Now, I go over and take off this is melted good enough and ready for use. So, I'll leave it there to cool a bit. Now, lads, when I give you the nod, hold that a bit. Are you okay? When I give you the nod, now take it easy, nice and easy. Don't pull like as if it was tractors or anything like that. Pull gentle, go over, pull, get straight opposite each other. Now, you can pull easy now. Easy. How are you? Oh. You okay? Oh. Sound. Hold the strain now. Hold the strain.
Hold it tight.
Yeah. Now, what Mother would do then was she emptied the pitch out on the cloth, and I think I left my stick up here maybe. Yeah. You see it's black already. She came along then, she put out the pitch and she leveled it until it was level and fairly thick. Okay? Now, she would go back again maybe and have a checkup. Good. Keep your strain. You have to use your imagination sometimes. So she would come along and with pitch on it, put it on like that. It would stay itself on if I had pitch. Oh, it is. Magic. Next thing, she would come along, and before she put on these, she would dip this in there, and she'd do a little scribble on it here, and another scrib there, another scrib here, and another scrib there, and over. And the reason she put the little scribs thing was so that they would stick on. Now, I know the one will stick on top, but the one won't stick on the bottom. You leave that one there, hold it there. So you can imagine there's another one there. Okay. Next thing, the bandage went on. Some people, you'd see them trying to put on a bandage this way, and then go. But it's always the back way as you go. So she would come along and good and strong, tighten it in. She would wrap it around and around. I haven't enough, but anyway. So now lads, you can go. How do you feel?
Much better.
You feel much better already. Well, I'm not that magical now. Okay, she would pin it up. Okay, we'll take off this. Okay. Easy now. You take it off. And off. You can take off yours. Throw them over in there. Okay. Now, hold yourself round. There. So you will have to put this in a sling. And God help you. When you go to bed at night, you'll have to lie on your back and keep the sling on, because you never know where hands go when your people are in bed at night. So, here you are. We'll work it nice and slowly, work it in. Easy now, easy.
Very good, yeah.
Easy, easy. You're a great patient. You didn't squeal much or anything.
Oh, I'm glad to get fixed up.
I saw a man who was very, very supposed to be one of the strongest men in the country. He came to our house and he had a bad finger. And when he heard about the pulling, he says, "Oh, geez," he says, I'll tie it to the crook and I'll pull it myself. So he did. Now, that's it. We'll have a drop of tea.
No whiskey, no?
No whiskey, I said.
We'll have to do a tea, so
You have to do a tea. Okay. Now, I want you back here. This day 3 weeks. Today is the 10th, 17th, 24th, the 31st of August. I want you back here and we'll change that plaster. No whiskey.
I'll stay away from it.
No work. Okay.
Thanks, Mrs. Redican.
Thanks very much. Now, that's a very quiet, patient man. I'm going to do one more demonstration. I'm not going to go in as much detail as I did there, because you'll have an idea of it. And Finian, Aaron and PJ. Finian, oh, what happened to you?
Your shoulder.
Oh, stand back. Can you take your hand out of there? Easy down now. Easy. Can you lift it up and put it up behind your neck? No. I should have known. Anyway.
No,
you
it's
can't.
too short.
You can't. Okay. Now, I would be supposed to get him stripped down and see the two shoulders and look at it from there. Anyway. Yeah, your shoulder is down. I'll have to fix that. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Where is Aaron and PJ? I want help. I want help. I'm looking for something. Did I lose it?
Whiskey.
No, no whiskey. Anyone see a ball any place? A ball? Oh, I'll probably put it back in here. I come with my other tools. Now, usually when that took place, it was a spade or a lie we used to use at home. But I had neither a spade nor a lie, and to look at me, I wouldn't be able to use many of them at the moment. But anyway, we're going to come over here, away from that chair there. Come over, we'll be faced this way. Now, could we pull up that chair back there? No, pull it away altogether. Pull it away, you're not going to faint, I think. Now, each under the arm, on your shoulder, and you're on your shoulder, the two of you. And the ball, I'm going to put it in here, in the oxer. Now, lift it firm under it, make sure there. Can you let your arm down? No, you're too small, but no matter. Anyway, what would happen then is, you see the ball of wool, that would be a ball of wool. Mother, God rest her, would pull it down, and you'd hear it would shoot back up into place. And that was the way the shoulder was put back. So, thank you, lads. And your shoulder is good now. Look at that. Okay. Now, that's all my, oh yes, I have a few other things to tell you. If my mum did bone setting in, we'd say, very hot weather, she wouldn't use pitch, because pitch would go and get very malleable and soft. So she used what she called a soot plaster. Soot. Many of you had pavlova. Yeah. So most of you had. What about it? It's hard, isn't it? Yeah. What goes into it? White of eggs. Mum, God rest her, used to get the brush, go over to the chimney with an open fireplace, and she'd up the chimney with the brush, and she'd have a tray or a basin and catch the soot coming down. And then, when she had enough, she thought, she brought it over, and she got, I don't know, you used to call it a beetle, a pounder, and she ground down the soot, any lumps was in it. And then she got the eggs, and she separated the yolk from the white. And she got white after white after white until and mixed it with the soot, and she had a paste. And with that paste, she came along and did just what I'm after doing. That man is gone with it anyway. She leveled the paste out, the same as I leveled out the pitch, and then she put it on the brake. And that got as hard as any plaster, and it withstood the heat in the summertime. So that's one I was to tell you about. The other one I wanted to tell you about, I mentioned a poultice. Poultice, as you all know, is used to take a drought infection. Well, the poultice Mum, God rest her, used was made from comfrey roots. You know what comfrey looks like. There was an old garden down from our house at home, and when no one living in the house for donkey's years, and the garden was overgrown, well, you would walk through a forest of comfrey. So we used to go down there and dig the comfrey roots. And you boiled the comfrey roots until they were soft and could be bruised. And you also got sheep suet, and you fried it, and the oil of that, you mixed it with the comfrey and put it on a plaster and put it on. It was used for people who had breaks a long, long time, and it took out infection, and it also made the bone more malleable or easier to use. So that was another one. For ribs, for cracked ribs, she used to get fairly hot water, not that I wouldn't scald you, and she'd put the glass into it, take it out, and put it on the area of the fracture, and slowly, slowly withdraw it. And as she withdrew it, the bone came out. Now, that's most of the things I think I have. Wait, let's see, have I any other one? Oh, this last ribs. Okay. Yeah. Now, I want just to finish up, and it's with a statement that was made by Father Tom McLaughlin at my mother's funeral. Sorry for the delays, but that's me. Now, I read it. Nearing the end of his homily at Mary Alice's funeral, Father Tom McLaughlin remarked, "The younger people among us growing up find it difficult to understand that the bone setter in Ireland was a 5-in-1 consultant, radiographer, radiologist, orthopedic consultant, plaster technician, and physiotherapist. And there were times too when they needed skills in psychology. God had given to her, that's Mary Alice, extraordinary healing powers to diagnose injuries and put them right. She had no x-rays, just the gift of feeling. Beside her in her work was her surgical attendant. Unlike the modern man, Andrew, that's my father, he had no white gown, he had no stethoscope, but sometimes a lie or a spade. Together they did a marvellous job for which hundreds and hundreds are grateful. That's it. And I am very grateful for the attention that I got from the audience here tonight. I really didn't think I'd get around it, but sure I got around it anyway. And thank you very, very much. And thank the Women Project, thank them for inviting me here. And I hope that you learned something of the way bone setting was. It was tough. It was tough on the patient. But just remember this, there were no orthopedic surgeons. There was nobody at that time. There was no one. So the bone setter, I know that my mum, God rest her, must have set hundreds and hundreds of people, and they could fly it afterwards. So thank you all for listening.
Well, she's an amazing person, but I do remember my mother from a very early age. And when I was born in the house was different. It was attached, 3-bedroom house.
And the bone setting, do you remember any of that?
Oh yeah. I was, what's the word? I would know now how a bone was set and about a dislocated arm. But I didn't like to be around because actually while they were being done, some people used to get upset. You know, of course, or hurt. There was no such a thing as, you know, to give them anything for the pain or anything. So, and then the tea we made, and she was amazing. There was always full and plenty in the house for everybody. Yeah, and Daddy was amazing, man. Well, I wouldn't remember their names, but it was quite regular, you know. Yeah, even the strongest of men, you know where they used that shaft under the arm and that pulled on and it wasn't, no, it did hurt, sure it hurt, yeah. But I would certainly know about broken bones, but I wasn't interested in doing anything with them. Do you know what I mean? From seeing what I saw, you know.
Yes, well, of course, in 1960, I broke my arm. I was in the bog. My brother and I were wrestling, and I was thrown down a hill, and I put my arm out, and it smashed in 2 places. And Mary Alice Redican, sister, Annie Conboy, Annie Teague, set my arm that time, and it was very like the procedure you're seeing on the camera tonight, the pulling of the arm, and Annie was the expert. She did the expert putting my bones in place and all that, and did great work doing that. After my arm was pulled, it was perfectly put perfectly straight. Then her husband, Paddy Conboy, got soot out of the chimney, and they made a plaster of soot, and it was put on my arm for 3 weeks, and I was told to come back after 3 weeks, and then a plaster of pitch was put on it, which is somewhat like tarmacadam, and another 3 weeks, and then after that I went back and it taken off. Of course, my arm was in a sling for all the time, but my arm recovered perfectly. I've had it x-rayed many times in many hospitals since. No fault was ever found with it. That happened 63 years ago, and Annie Conboy, Annie Teague, was a real expert in what she did. And not alone did her husband, Paddy Conboy, if an animal broke their leg, whether it was maybe a calf or a cow, they also came down to the farmer and set their arms, or legs I should say, no arms of course, in a similar manner to what was described this evening. And I think she was a great person, like all Mary Alice and all the people involved in bone setting at that time. They really provided a brilliant medical service. I'm talking, of course, 63 years ago, but even much longer before that, for generations, that service was provided.